Welcome back to the Bad Tutors podcast. If you're still here for the latest, up-to-date, and accurate information about the nerdy topics that are near and dear to your heart, well, let me tell you, you ended up in the wrong place. Here, we are all about hot takes and grandiose displays of misinformation. So stick along for the ride, and you might just blow a blood vessel or two. Today, we continue with our part 2 of 3 of SCP-001, the Ouroboros Cycle Proposal by DJKAKTUS.
Yep, that's what
Here
we're
we
at.
are.
So I'm gonna read.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. This is the actual story now.
Okay.
So on the opening page of it, we have special containment procedures. It is the imperative of the Overseer Council to establish containment of SCP-001. Description: to know the nature of SCP-001 is to know the nature of the Foundation. For more information, see document 001-GOI.01 Operatus. Amendment Addendum 001.1 attached documentation. So this even plays into my idea that everything up until now has been to hide this. This one we see as item 001, level 6, cosmic top secret, which, if you recall, is actually the highest level of security documentation that we have within the SCP Foundation. So decrypting that, we see this block of text. The first man stood alone on the barren field, and in the distance he saw the locked gate beyond which his greatest shame was kept. He turned to the snake, who writhed on its belly like a worm, and cursed it for its treachery. "You tricked me," the man said. "You led my hand astray, and we are damned for it." The snake sighed. "I gave you knowledge," it said, "and with knowledge, you made the choice you made. I could not make it for you." The man cried out, "All the same, trusting you was my greatest mistake." "No," said the snake. "Your greatest mistake was believing that you had a choice at all." Accessing the document listed above, we now are no longer within the SCP Foundation. We are now within the Chaos Insurgency as we open to their logo, a circle with a bright glowing dot in the center and 3 parallel arrows crossing through it. A bastardization of the Foundation's logo as it is, because as we know, the Chaos Insurgency was definitely for sure formed by members of the Red Right Hand. For sure. And nothing that I'm going to say will contradict that even a little bit. The document type we look at is Summa Modus Operandi. This, we are going to find out, is the overall directive of the Chaos Insurgency. And this is going to be a bit of a long read here, as I'm going to outline this first part, and then we're going to get into it. And it's going to be something. So we have the foreword. "We, the Delta Command, do hereby set in motion the principles of this document, the Summa Modus Operandi of the Chaos Insurgency. We hold the following to be inescapable truths. The Foundation overseers have altered the fabric of reality for the benefit of their own wicked desires. These alterations are the source of all supernatural activity in our universe. These grievances we hold against them. The 13th Overseer has blasphemed the natural order of his foul contract to stay the hand of death, and has usurped the fragile balance of life and given an impenetrable shield to the horrid adulterers of the Foundation. The 12th Overseer has stolen the wealth of the world to benefit the Foundation's insidious designs, and has taken the fruits of many millions for the purpose of turning those labors against the laborers. The 11th Overseer has spun a circle of lies around the people of this world to protect the Foundation's interests, and has cast a dark eye onto the void to gaslight and pervert the true human understanding. The 10th Overseer has kept a dubious record of the Foundation's malfeasances and altered history to suit them, and has mocked truth and reason for the sake of maintaining the Foundation's cruel legacy. The 9th Overseer has betrayed the trust of their fellow man and sworn allegiance to the cancerous council, and has time and time again turned away from opportunities to strike them down to prolong their greed-riddled intentions. The 8th Overseer has committed wicked acts against the ignorant public with their careless use of nuclear weapons, and was one of the first to breathe life into the organization that should have been butchered in the crib. The 7th Overseer has manipulated innocent populaces to create chaos and destruction for the Foundation's benefit, and has shown nothing but contempt and malfeasance against the innocent and unwitting. The 6th Overseer has surreptitiously used the might of the American military machine to crush the Foundation's enemies, and wrought a tale of never-ending violence and bloodshed that has forever stained this world. The 5th Overseer has warped the very boundaries between space and time to extend the Foundation's cruel reach, and taken dark and horrible secrets from those far-off places to use them to fuel the Foundation's death machine. The 4th Overseer has lulled the nations of the world into believing that the Foundation means no harm, while working alongside the same treacherous intentions that would see the planet laid to waste. The 3rd Overseer has used mankind's own technologies against them to act as the all-seeing watcher of the Overseers, spinning a web of eyes that has eroded every last shred of human privacy and decency. The 2nd Overseer is complicit. The 1st Overseer has established a council of monsters and demons that answer his beck and call, all so he may sit on his foul throne atop the putrid wound of the Foundation and lap like a dog from its seeping, pustulant orifice. The Overseer's anomalous influence on the world is a wound in the fabric of the universe, a wound that festers cannot heal until the irritant is removed. The 13 Foundation Overseers are the irritant in the wound of our reality. The 13 Foundation Overseers must be removed. By the order of the Engineer and of those who stepped down, we stand in defiance of this aberration. We stand in opposition to this blasphemy against nature. We stand insurgent against chaos. Our path is clear. Our vision is unclouded. We must clean out the wound. We must let our universe heal. We must destroy the 13 Foundation Overseers. And that is the summa modus operandi of the Chaos Insurgency. From here, we will be outlining the death of the 13 Overseers. Starting, of course, with the 13th. So as I have said, this is now the story. We're going to be getting a lot of names at this point. The main actors that we are going to be following are Calvin Lucian, Olivia, Anthony, and Adam. And I just can't remember their other names. I'm going to say their last names as they come up.
Okay.
Olivia Torres is one of them, but Calvin, Olivia, Adam, and Anthony are going to be the four main people at first that we follow. So the story sets up as Calvin is meeting with Delta Command, the equivalent, the Chaos Insurgency equivalent of the O5 Council. They are meeting in some fucking warehouse in Somalia, as they really don't have any funding, money, or power. Like, they kind of do, but they are kind of, as the Foundation was, always on a back foot. But they're also, the reason that they're the Chaos Insurgency is because when they were first founded, someone said, God, this is just a chaotic insurgency, because they couldn't hold fucking anything together. And they went, Chaos Insurgency. Yeah, you're right, for sure. That's where the name came from. And Calvin Lucian comes to the council, or comes to Delta Command, and tells them, it's time. We are going to commence with the Summa Modus Operandi. And the only reason that they kind of listen to him at all is because he has on him a journal that he's stolen. And Tyler, if you want to kind of look at it while I'm going through this, if you look at each step of this process, we have decryption complete, access log, and journal entry. Okay. And that has the outline of all of the overseers. And before we really get into this, this is just for you. Open the first one on 0513 for me.
Okay.
At the bottom of the page, it says all the best, and then a letter. What letter is that?
At the bottom of the first page?
Yeah, so it starts with to the readers, and then at the bottom it says all the best.
That looks like a cursive L.
You had a different take than I did. I thought it looked like an A. And it is a U, actually. It's
okay. That also
I won't get into that yet. I see it as a U now, but this journal, as you kind of scroll through it, it outlines a little bit about and the approximate location of all of the overseers in the council, in the O5 council. The first one, as I said, that they need to go after is, of course, 0513, because he has, as well as the rest of the council, as we come to see, made a deal with death. 0513 is not a living person, technically. He is a corpse that is kept on the edge of life, almost dying at all times, forever and ever and for eternity. This is because to make a deal with death, you have to offer death something that it wants. So they brought him to the edge of life, or to the edge of death, I should really say, and death came to come claim his soul, and they said, we'll keep him here forever, because that's basically death's top drug is someone about to die. So he went, we'll do this, and you, death, have a seat on the O5 council. So 0513, Felix Carter, who we will talk about at least a little bit more as a very prominent member of the Foundation in the past, is eternally kept barely alive, and death operates as his actual stand-in, essentially, which is why I specifically outlined in part 3 that when they voted whether or not to use SCP-001 as the singularity Calvin Desmond, 0513 abstained in both votes, because 0513 is not there. 0513 is hidden in an anciently built site that is impossible to find without use of amnestics that act as they do is their psychoactive drug that lets people see things that they cannot, as well as, later on wipe your memory, but they can be used in other ways as well. Anthony Wright is the other last name that I'm forgetting, and the team that is assembled by Calvin, because he is told by Delta Command, hey, we don't have a lot of resources for you. This is a batshit crazy mission that you're trying to pull off. We can't sacrifice a lot of resources for it. So he says, all right, fine. I want 3 people. And these are his 3 people. Anthony Wright is a very grizzled Chaos Insurgency veteran that has been, who knows how long he's fucking been with the Chaos Insurgency. Olivia is someone that Calvin has worked with many times throughout his time in the Chaos Insurgency. And Adam is just kind of a new young kid that is shit at combat, but he's computer boy, because you always need computer boy on these missions. So they decide, all right, we're fucking doing this. We are going to kill the overseers of the SCP Foundation. And the first one, Adam Ivanov. There we go. That's better. So to outline, we have Calvin Lucian, Adam Ivanov, Olivia Torres, and Anthony Wright. These are our 4 protagonists. Yes, I can say that. Yeah. And they are sailing out to a nebulous place in the sea where they find basically an old superstructure that no one made this. No one that is known made this. The Foundation didn't make it. They used it as a site for storing 0513's body. To get there, they actually have to completely fucking crash their ship into it as the waves carry them up in their... They say there's no other way to get there. I assume it's just because they didn't have a flying thing, because the way it's described makes me think a helicopter could have landed there fine, but that's besides the point.
Right.
And something that we find out is that Calvin has on him 2 vials of water from the Fountain of Life, which is, we learn how the O5 Council, before this deal with death, was able to maintain such a long life. They weren't able to do that through death, but they found I don't know why it's the Fountain of Youth and not the Fountain of Life, but whatever. And all of them kept vials of it. Eventually the well ran dry, but there were vials kept, and somehow Calvin Lucian ends up with 2 of them. Because they're going, how do you kill someone that is unkillable and completely protected by death? So what he ends up doing after going through this whole crazy fucking superstructure is he finds the body of 0513 and he pours the water of life into his mouth. And that, since he was still alive, completely brought him back to life, no longer keeping him on the verge of death, to which Calvin shot him in the face and pushed him over the edge of the there's this insane, everywhere in this place is just like an insane drop. Like he said, he dropped a rock over the edge and waited to hear it hit the bottom, and after 2 minutes of waiting, he just moved on. And he pushes Felix Carter over the edge after shooting him, and he then meets Death. Death is a woman in this world, and she talks to him and outlines to him that she will not be protecting any member of the O5 Council any further, in that, in fact, the only reason that she ever decided to accept this contract with him, or with them, is because she even are here. Something festers at the heart of the council, something that will not die. I thought that perhaps if I had a seat at their table, I could find it, make it die. but I couldn't. There are things in this world that are beyond even my reach, Calvin Lucian. Perhaps you will fare better. Perhaps not. So even death thinks that there's something wrong with the O5 Council and in turn, the Foundation on whole. And she doesn't know what it is, and she says, fucking good luck, buddy. Hope you can figure it out.
Right.
My hands are clean.
Yeah.
I did my shit. From here, we're just gonna move on to the next overseer as step 1 is complete. The O5 Council is mortal again. So, we move on to the 12th overseer, the accountant. And the decryption log starts, if I recall, in all of these are framed throughout with before, after, elsewhere, now, things like that. And we turn up, and this time we don't open with the protagonist that I've laid out before us. We start elsewhere here, and it seems as though someone within the O5 Council has realized that Felix is dead, and the contract with death has been broken. We are yet unsure who the talking people are, but they're going back and forth. And the one other funny part in this whole story, the second person talking says, "We didn't find him. If he fell or was pushed, he still might be falling. We have to assume the worst." And the idea that, like, however long it would have taken them to realize it, because even if it's immediate, even if they just feel it and they immediately know that the contract has been broken, it would have taken time for them to, whoever these two people are, to meet. And they probably aren't in adjoining fucking offices. So the idea that this man is just still infinitely falling in this superstructure does make me laugh a pretty fucking good amount. But this exchange goes back and forth, going, all right, who the fuck is doing this? How did someone even do this? No one should even know how to do this, how to find him. It doesn't make any sense. And whoever these two people are, they're pissed and fucking scared as well. And then we cut to now, and we are back with our protagonists. They are going after the accountant. And now this guy is, I think this is one of the more interesting ones that they go after, because he cannot see the future, even though it kind of seems like it. He basically they describe it kind of as he sees all of the little lines that tie everything together in the universe, saying, he's a data sponge. He soaks up information, analyzes it, and finds hidden correlations that no one else can see. Everything he does, he does based off these invisible relationships. His entire route, what he wears, what he drinks, his day-to-day activities are all based on the predictions derived by these correlations. One of the biggest things he bases them off of is train schedules. There's further in here where it's coming kind of from the accountant's perspective, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this and this because peaches are down today. Like, the price of peaches are down, therefore I have to buy this fucking stock. Like, that's the kind of like invisible patterns in correlations we're dealing with here, right? Like, absolutely esoteric things that make no sense, but when you see it on that grand of an anomalous scale, it's correct. And everything kind of makes sense. This is the man who now kind of funds the whole fucking foundation, because when you can basically, again, not see the future, but kind of in theory can predict the patterns of the future, you're pretty good at, like, you know, playing the fucking stock market. Adam defines this kind of balance between knowing the future and just being able to read patterns. Is he can know that there's a 75% chance that today someone will attack him. He can know that there's a 30% chance it will be 5 people, a 25% chance it will be 4 people, a 20% chance it will be 3 people, and so on. So he can kind of not know everything, but get a pretty good fucking guess on what's going on. So I'm obviously not going to read all of this. As I said, it's the length of a full novel. I'm going to highlight some important things within here. And they're going through, they find him, they're kind of trying to chase him down. And throughout it, the accountant is kind of going, oh, I made it out. Wait, that was way too close. How did they get that close? They should not have been able to get that fucking close to killing me. That's not right. And he ends up on a train next to Calvin Lucian. And the whole time they're kind of getting messages, we know from Calvin, of like, wait, keep him talking, don't do something yet. And there's always pauses in between here. Like they're doing something and he goes, wait, okay, hold on, do it. Like things like that, just like little pauses here and there. And we go to find out that the way that they figured out how to kill him, because if you just take a shot, if you just walk up and take a shot at his fucking head, he knows that you're going to do that and he'll step out of the way. And it happens multiple times throughout here. He dodges like dozens and dozens of bullets throughout this. And after eventually meeting Calvin Lucian, he goes to do something and he sees Calvin flip a coin. And it finally clicks with him. And Calvin says, you're good at predicting complicated systems, but only when they behave the way they're supposed to. You can't predict them all if all of their decisions are inherently unpredictable. So the whole time as they're executing their plan, they know where he's going to be and vaguely how to do it. Every decision that is being made at the flip of a coin. So he cannot foresee what they're going to do or how they are going to do any part of their plan, which I just think is a very cool thing. That's a very fun way to deal with this problem. And I think it was one of the more interesting ones. And he goes through and he's like, all right, what do you want from me then? You're going to kill me. I know you're going to kill me. And Calvin says the names, locations, everything that you have on them. And he says, you want me to give up their names and locations of the other overseers? What, do you want their PIN numbers too? And is just being a real fucking asshole about all of this, because he says at the end of the day, you're going to kill me anyways. I know you're going to kill me. It's not a question. So just fucking do it. And it ends. Calvin squeezed the trigger, bringing down 0512, bringing us swiftly into 0511, The Liar, the one that I outlined as the Joseph Goebbels of the SCP Foundation, and I stand by that even more after reading this proposal. So,
okay.
This one, here we go. Now, we don't start in now. We start in then. And we start with Felix Carter, as well as one Vincent Arians. We are put into a meeting after a lecture in an auditorium by one Felix Carter, still alive at the time. And we are introduced to one Dr. Frederick Williams, as well as Dr. Carter, a man named Vincent Arians of Oxford, and one of his, a new person that we meet, one Aaron Siegel, who we've heard of before. I've said multiple times that Aaron Siegel is 051. So we are seeing one of the first meetings of who is now 051 with one Dr. Frederick Williams and one Felix Carter, who we now know to be dead. Vincent, we are at this point unsure of. He's just also there as they meet up with one other Dr. Sophia Light, who the Light family is a whole fucking thing within the SCP universe, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. And it is offered to Dr. Aaron Siegel to have a more proper meeting with Dr. Frederick Williams and Dr. Light. And that's all we get in this chapter of the proposal. The initial meeting of a couple big names within the rest of this story. Cutting to now, we have Olivia. And she's in, at first, studio balcony with Anthony as they're both, as she tries to strike up a cigarette and just doesn't have, just can't get her lighter to work. And Anthony comes over and flips out his old brass lighter and helps her out and gives it a light. And it kind of seems like a bit of a romantic thing here, which it threw me off a little bit because it in the other two parts of the story it didn't really fucking seem like there was anything there, and they're going back and forth for a bit, and they're talking about how the overseers have fallen. I believe how all of them have fallen. And they're going through and talking, and eventually they're saying, well, how many sites are left now? Well, we commissioned site 173, so there's a couple, about 200 left. And they're going through, how are you holding up, going back and forth, and they're kind of going through, and Olivia's realizing more and more, this isn't how Anthony acts. Something's wrong. Something's very off. And it says, anyways, sorry, I'm just ranting. Listen, Olivia, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. And it cuts off as it says, Olivia slammed all 4 inches of the sleek, razor-sharp crafting knife into Anthony Wright's heart. For one instant, the man's eyes were filled with raw confusion and shock. And then, stumbling back, numbly clutching at the hilt, his eyes were filled with nothing at all. I'm sorry, Olivia whispered. She pushed him over the banister's edge, and the world ended. And now we come to now. And Olivia wakes up. I've just put you through this in D&D for like a month. I'm sorry, it's happening again. You're waking up to flashbangs. Nice. And she comes up, and she's there in a slightly different room, very comfortable, and she's talking with Adam. And Adam has a gun pointed to her head. Or, sorry, no. Adam is sitting at his laptop, being the computer boy, with a pistol next to it. And he says, how much do you remember? As she wakes up. And she goes through, I was having some sort of dream. Anthony was there, but it was years from now, and nothing was real, not real. It felt real, but, and he responds, something was off, right? And they go back and forth, and again, something is wrong. What she realizes this time is that being a weird computer nerd, he of course named his computer. And his computer's name is Alexander. And he says to her, Calvin loaded a video on Alexandra along with instructions to play it if we found ourselves not remembering anything about how we got here. And he clicks play, kind of watches it for a bit. It's encrypted. And she goes, it's encrypted. And he says, well, I guess, I don't remember, but there's some kind of a password I must have used, and kind of slides it over to her to enter it in, and she, without thinking, grabs the pistol off of his nightstand and buries 3 rounds directly into his skull. And then the world ended. And then we wake up in now. Believe it or not. Well, there's 3 guys. So this time she comes to with Calvin. And they're going through, and she outlines how something was wrong. Or what does she say specifically? Someone's fucking with my head. I've gone through 2 iterations now. One with Anthony, one with Adam. Each time they were trying to get information from me, talking her way through it. Each time I realized there was something wrong, a detail out of place. Anthony's lighter, Adam's computer. He calls it Alexander, not Alexandra. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized. And they're going back and forth. And she immediately assumes, well, Calvin's in front of me. It's happened 2 times. I'm going to have to kill you now. You're the liar. You are the next overseer. You're the propaganda that is fucking with me. And putting it into Joseph Goebbels. And actually, there's probably a lot of other Nazis that it makes a lot more sense for, but that's not the point of this. And he very much it says, Olivia. Calvin's tone took on a building urgency. Please listen to me. You might be right. Someone might be messing with your head, but it's not me. I'm not the liar. Listen, just listen, okay? You were helping me with research, you fell asleep in my office, and now you wake up, and you've pulled a gun on me. You said that things unraveled when you've noticed something wrong. And she says, well, nothing feels unfamiliar, nothing feels wrong, this all feels very familiar. And he goes on to say, you said it started with a dream about Anthony, then Adam. Think about it. If I were the liar, would I really start with Calvin next? Once is happenstance, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. I think the liar is trying to trick you into killing me. And this is able to convince her a little bit and bring her back into the real world a little bit. And he goes through and says, he didn't ask about your copy of the journal, right? You still have it? She says, no, he didn't. Yeah, I still have it. And reaches with her free hand to touch the base of her wrist. The faint, familiar lump was still present. The journal is right here. The liar smiled. So it is. And then the world ended. And now we're to the final time.
Okay.
This is the last one, as she wakes up through 3 layers of being inceptioned into telling the liar where the journal is. And we find out that it is basically a
something
digital
embedded
backup.
in her, wrist, yeah.
Where there is, of course, the actual physical journal as well.
This thing is a fucking marathon.
And we are on 0510 of 13.
Yeah.
Sorry, 11. We're not on time yet. Like I said, this is going to be a long one. Clear your fucking schedule.
Yeah, here we go.
So, she finds herself in a hospital room with a couple of dead nurses and doctors around as the liar sits in front of her. And the liar comes up and, how's that cut feeling? Very jovial and just a bitch about everything, as you would expect. And she says, we read, she blinked again. A man with white teeth like serrated steak knives and claws that could carve through steel. She blinked again. It was Anthony. She blinked again. It was Adam. She blinked again. It was Calvin. She blinked again. It was the liar. And we see her, as this doesn't really make any true sense. And this is the real, I've liked it the whole way up until here. Don't get me wrong. But this is where I also lost my mind thinking it was so cool. Because we talked about SCP-3000, right?
Yeah.
This is the big daddy of where amnestics come from.
Right.
And if you look in the journal entry for the liar, we find that she was found by the council when she was in a boat accident off the shore of Bangladesh in the Bay of Bengal. And this, we say, is over time, when they found her, she was very anomalous and just off. She was, at the time, a Chaos Insurgency member that was trying to stop some research for the Foundation. And after this, that led to the discovery of a compound called Y909, which, if you'll recall, is the chemical made by SCP-3000
Right.
that creates amnestics. And when I looked into it, guess who wrote the entry for SCP-3000? Did you say DJKAKTUS? Because I hope you did, and that's when I lost it. Because now everything is tied together that I didn't even think was going to tie together. Because this is my interpretation of this. I think, while trying to disrupt the goings-on of the SCP Foundation, the Chaos Insurgency technically accidentally discovered SCP-3000, but everyone probably died other than who was at the time known as Sam Beale. This would be who becomes the liar. And in my interpretation, she was exposed to such a high level of Y909 before it was discovered to be what it is, that SCP-3000 didn't kill her. Somehow the drowning didn't kill her. She became, on her own, so anomalous that she can basically erase the memory of anyone in front of her in real fucking time. Change their memories and alter them based on that exposure to SCP-3000, which it doesn't tie into the story. I just think that's really fucking cool. That's why I'm saying I genuinely think this is good enough to be a standalone novel. It wouldn't work as well, but you could. It would still work. But then all of these through lines, it really shows why I like SCP as much as I do. Because this is a massive fucking story tied into a million fucking things. And even here, it's pulling in references that I've been setting up this story for a long time. And I didn't even know that I was setting up that plot point. And it couldn't have played out fucking better.
Right.
That's all there is for that.
Yeah,
I just needed
cool.
I only have a couple of those throughout this whole story, but that's one of them. And I was losing it when I was reading it with that revelation. It was so cool. So they're going back through. We're sitting with Olivia and the liar. And it is revealed to her that she was, in fact, a Chaos Insurgency operative. And she was, in fact, Sam Beale. It is said by Delta Command that she was tortured by the Foundation for weeks and weeks and never gave up a word. And the liar says that's true. I didn't give up my memories of the insurgency because there were no memories to give up, which is, of course, playing into this is now at the point in the story where it confirms the whole fucking tirade that I just went on, basically. And the liar says that I have cleared a path to the front entrance out of this building, and it will be open for the next 10 minutes. Once you are out, you will find a gray van in the parking lot, and the doors are unlocked. The keys are in the glove compartment, and you'll find instructions, a map, and a flash drive. And Olivia asks, of course, a flash drive, for what? And she says, well, of course, it contains crucial data, including that of your next target, the archivist. Of all of us, she may be the furthest gone. Tell your friends to be careful. And Olivia asks, well, what about you? Because at this point, it's kind of come up that not in a sleeper agent kind of way, but being reminded where she came from and everything that she's now done. The liar has kind of had a realization of, this is not good. She says, "What about me? I'm not faultless in this. I may have forgotten my purpose, but it was still me in there making those decisions. The things that I did, there's nothing left for me out there. If the Foundation doesn't kill me immediately, I'll spend the rest of my life running from them because of what I know. I'm not about to run from the truth. The truth has set me free. Move fast. Your window is closing." And the liar lets her go, and it says it wasn't until she reached the stairwell that she heard that single lonely shot. As the liar ends her own life, realizing what she is allowing to now happen. Letting us move on to fucking... This is... I know I say it every time. This is where she starts getting fucking crazy. But it does. It's a lot. We open with then. And we see Vincent Arians and Aaron Siegel as they are in a dingy apartment, just polishing off fucking bottles of alcohol. And he said, Arian said, "He's dead. It worked." And Aaron responds, "Yes. I'm gonna go with Siegel because he's mostly listed as Arians, and I can't enunciate well enough, so it's going to be Arians and Siegel moving forward. And they are discussing the events of the children. So we are now through this. We have how many of the overseers are left, and it is now very clearly laid out to us that 051 in the children was Aaron Siegel. As they outline, we know that Aaron Siegel found the administrator, Frederick Williams, and he says, but Arians says, "We have a lot of work to do, Siegel, but before we start, I need you to tell me why you did it." To which he responds, "It doesn't matter now. It's done." With a very quick response of, "Fuck you, it does matter. We did things. I did things that will haunt me until the day I die. But we did them anyways because we were saving the world. You had the chance to destroy Abaddon, and you didn't. You told me to run the moment you activated them. The children. You told me not to ask why, so that's what I did. I trusted you, because you've never given me a reason not to. But now, I've got several. You need to tell me why you killed Frederick Williams." And there was a silence for a bit as Aaron Siegel goes on to outline, there was no Abaddon. There never was. It was baked. How do you know? Because he told me, Vincent Arians. And he says, and when I didn't believe him, he showed me. It was just before the Congo site. I was there with him. I don't know what the hell he is. He was probably human once. Maybe, but not anymore. He can do things. Impossible things. And when the site fell, I watched him level the entire facility, Vincent. One man. That's all it took. That's all Abaddon was. I think he saw some kind of kindred spirit in me. I watched him press through concrete and rebar as if it were a soft, wet paste. I watched a man exhale his own skeleton as a thick, yellow fog. I watched a woman's blood solidify into crystal, as sharp as diamond and as brittle as chalk. He let me watch, because he knew there was no one that would believe me. He let me watch because I think he wanted to see what I would do. Arians asks, "So you destroyed him?" "Yes. I knew I didn't have the kind of power I needed to kill him, and then he spends a minute looking for a new bottle of liquor and just starts drinking from whatever one he finds. Maybe he wanted to see if I would. Maybe he just wants to see that power himself. In some of his correspondence early on, he would describe anomalies as glorious. He talked about them like you and I might talk about a sunrise. I don't know. I don't think it was ever enough for him. I don't think anything was. He's the cancer, Vince. It wasn't Abaddon, it was the administrator. He had to be destroyed. The whole thing had to be destroyed. It was rotten down to its core. And they continue on for a bit here, as you would assume. And this is where I like the whole story. This is where I think it shines the most. Because as we've talked about in all of our different SCP iterations, they, as I said up top, are just a faceless, soulless, non-empathetic group. And
Right.
This whole story shows the denigration, the downfall of people, of the overseers, of going, man, we aren't doing good things, but what the fuck else are we going to do? There is no other option. This is the only option. But actually seeing it in like hearing the dialogue of these people and like figuring out where all of this came from, because like we've talked about some in this episode alone, we've already talked about some like really truly heinous shit that they've done, and we've talked about it in the past, but like this shows that they maybe weren't always that way. And knowing that, I don't know if it makes it better or worse, but like it at least makes you think for a second. So the conversation, as they go back and forth for a bit, of Arian's like really not being happy with Siegel, even though like he kind of gets it to a certain extent. They end with Vince. You saw it too, didn't you? The moment it happened, that it destroyed him, that moment, you saw it, didn't you? Yeah, I saw it. Wasn't it? And Arians concludes with, it was nothing. Just another body beneath the foundation. And we jump to now. And we jump back to Adam, Calvin, Anthony, and Olivia. And, we only jump back to Adam and Calvin at this point, as currently they say Olivia is busy dealing with the liar, and Anthony is getting intel on the outsider, who is the next overseer we will talk about. So this is happening at the same time that Olivia is being inceptioned over on the side. And here they go through, and they're just walking through a forest for a little bit, and something important to set up for later is what's the plan for killing the archivist? And Calvin says, most of them consist of shooting her in the face, which Adam correctly responds, that's not a plan. And he says, it's worked out pretty well so far, and if things get heated, I've got something. A weapon. And he says, well, what is it? He says, I can't tell you. Well, come on. Like, tell me what it is. And Calvin responds, no. I mean, I literally can't tell you. And that will be cleared up in a bit, but
Sure.
Gonna set it up now. And they come into a clearing where they're just between two trees, and Calvin puts his arm between them and it disappears. And Adam freaks the fuck out for a second and pulls it back, and they walk through, and they find themselves in the Wanderer's Library. I believe I talked very briefly about the Wanderer's Library when we talked about the O5 Council. It is I
It's
guess the
where
best way to describe it's
everything
all of
is
the
stored, right?
correct. It is all of the knowledge in the universe or I guess in the one universe, because we're playing with multiple universes, so we have to be more specific. I believe it is all the knowledge in one universe. So they're going through, they have to find a librarian. Adam starts fucking with a computer because it's turned off and it shouldn't be turned off, based on like all of the other signs he's getting. And they meet a librarian who is just this like weird kind of ethereal guy that they say we need to meet the archivist. And he says, well, they're not really here. We can't take you to the archivist. And let me find specifically. It says she has broken the pact with the serpent and taken the forbidden knowledge. She has written herself into a story which she does not belong. As for where she is now, if you seek her, I will take you to her, down below. So she is no longer within the library where she would normally be found, and she's somewhere else, but still within it. But this is a fucking multifaceted, like crazy place.
Hang on.
Mm-hmm.
She's broken her pact with the serpent, partaken in forbidden knowledge. Is that like a
biblical reference?
Yeah, listen, never been religious, haven't even read the Bible, but that sounds like Adam and Eve, right? There's like a snake and shit that they took an apple from or something.
That is a mostly correct interpretation, yes.
Right.
It's taken a little out of context for this, of course, but in theory, yes, because as we go through, they're going through this like crazy mega structure going down like it says, I'm not sure if this is, I think this is meant to be taken literally, but I'm not positive. It says, after a lifetime, the stairs ended and their feet struck stone again. I do believe this to be literal, as like time is being played with and manipulated within this world. But also earlier in this part of the story, Calvin said that they have to find someone quickly, otherwise you could just starve to death. But my interpretation, that would be when with a librarian, like it seems like it's a full lifetime, but it's like, when you pop out, it's going to be the same amount of time has passed normally.
Okay.
But Adam says a snake built this, and the kind of not exactly to your question, but to answer it a little bit, the librarian looks at him and says, the serpent is called the serpent in your world because that is how it manifests outside of these halls. In here, and in the dark endlessness below here, the serpent takes many shapes. You call the serpent what you call it because that is how you perceive it, but it is not what it is. The serpent is an avatar of one of the universal facets of reality, information. The idea that ideas can exist at all, or that all things have inherent truths about them. Below here is an emptiness outside of life and death. Below here is the emptiness outside of life and death, nothingness. The serpent's silent brother is the lord of that quiet oblivion. Anything that ventures there ceases to exist at all. She goes on to outline how this works a little more. The source of all knowledge in the center of the foundation, of which the serpent built this library. Within the chamber they are about to enter are 3 tomes that mustn't be disturbed. They are the fundamentals to our universe, and indeed all universes. You will recognize them when they see them. And Calvin says, before we go in, I would like to make a withdrawal. This, I'm going to preempt a little bit, is the weapon he was referring to. But as for right now, we see a short metal tube inscribed across its entire surface with runes. And she says, when you brought this to us all those years ago, we were not certain you would ever return to claim it. But you are much different now than you were then, I think. There are very few things that exist that our library has no knowledge of. The contents of this container are one such anomaly. I hope it brings you good fortune. So he has some weird spooky thing that even the place that has knowledge of literally everything, they don't know what the fuck is inside of there.
Right.
So they push through. And again, to your biblical analysis, which is, to be clear, also the analysis that I pulled out of it, they come to a pasture with 2 trees, and there is a woman sitting in between them in a simple white dress, and at her feet set 2 books with one in her hand. As we have been told, there are 3 books in here that aren't to be fucked with, and clearly this woman is fucking with the books. And one of these, worth noting, one of these trees has fruit and the other does not. Calvin asks, "Are you the archivist?" And she nods, and he just pulls out his gun and shoots her. And obviously, it doesn't work, because that would make a very lame story. And in another little bit of comedy here, she says, they're going back and forth, "Do you read?" And he goes, "I don't really read. I'm kind of fucking busy at the moment." She says, "Well, I read. In fact, I read very often. I'm a writer. The only way is to perfect my craft." And she says, "Well, did you know that there's a book in this library written to teach the reader how to allow bullets to pass through their body, even as if they're not even there?" "I know. I read that book. I read all of the books." Which I love that line as well. It's a pretty dark story overall, but like, goddamn, man has a couple lines in here that fucking kill me. So they're going through, and what she ends up outlining is there's the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. As you've said with the Bible, that is actually what it is. Like, we have the tree of knowledge that we all know about from that story, but there were 2 trees from what I understand of the Bible. Correct me, biblical scholars that listen, if I'm wrong. But they're going through, and she says, "Well, I've spent my whole fucking life in this place, basically, and I've read all the books, and it's a paradox because she says you cannot partake of the fruit of one tree without first partaking of the fruit of the other. So you could in theory never do it because you have to have one to have the other." And she says, "Well, I finally realized it. I've read every book here. I am the fucking serpent. The library is the fruit of the tree of knowledge, and I have already consumed it." So then she's eating an apple from the tree of life because clearly I have consumed all of the knowledge. I know everything there is to know. And then she actually turns into a giant fucking serpent, which I was not expecting. But she turns into a big serpent, and there's a big fight between all of them. And Adam, Kelvin, as he's kind of distracting him, tells him to open the cylinder that they were given. And he pulls out a very long, intricate spear that is way too heavy for him to use. And it also produces a harpoon gun. And he pulls it out, and he shoots the archivist with it, and she fucking disintegrates. Like, she is completely destroyed at that point. Before she dies, there is an exchange between Adam and herself saying, "I could kill you right now," Adam said, aiming the spear at the serpent's face. "It wouldn't take even a second." "Even if you could," the serpent said, its voice like velvet in smoke. "And you can't. Why would you want to? Do you even know what it is you're doing? Do you even know what you're trying to accomplish?" "Kill the 13 Foundation overseers," Adam said through gritted teeth, his finger shaking against the trigger. "Why?" "You've twisted the universe to suit your craven desires," Adam spat. "You've made a mockery of the natural order. Your influence is a cancer." The serpent responds, "Fanaticism. Even with all the knowledge in the world, I'll never understand you." And after that, it begins to move towards him. And he pulls the trigger. The spear buried itself inside the serpent's skull with a sickening crunch, and the monster recoiled and screamed. Smoke poured from the gaping wound on its head as it thrashed, and Adam had to fall to the ground to avoid being smashed as the serpent's tail swung and flattened the harpoon gun. The world dissolves about them, and him and Calvin wake up back right outside of the library where they first started. And and then they talk a little bit about this fucking spear. They are not put out yet. They are questioned by a weird green figure that pops up that is a different librarian and says, well, this is very rare. Do you know what this is? And both of them basically go, no, I have I have no idea. But he says, well, the library decided to hold it for you, even though we didn't know what it was. This is called the Spear of the Non-Believer. It is an ancient weapon, older perhaps than even this library. There are legends that say it was forged when the first thinking being decided to deny omnipotence, to stand alone against the insurmountable might. It is a very, very strange object indeed. So now we know what this is. This is an incredibly powerful spear that no one really knows at the time of reading how it got there. So that will, and now they find themselves in the forest again, bringing us to the Outsider, 05-9.
My fucking word, this is
I wasn't
absolutely
kidding.
insane.
So we now go, if you can't tell, this is going to be the format for almost all of the rest of these entries. We're going to go to then, splitting back to one Aaron Siegel, as he sits in a bustling Somali warehouse. And we see here, this is where we now outline, I had said, clearly that he was one of the founding members of the foundation. I've said that multiple times. I just said he was with Frederick Williams, and then I said he killed Frederick Williams. And now we find ourselves that he is sitting in a Somali warehouse, and it reads, already they had raided 3 foundation storehouses in Africa, with another team preparing for a third, making them think it's not an act. So what we're finding out here is that schism that I talked about in the children was performed by Aaron Siegel and Vincent Arians. We are now told that while Frederick Williams is dead, annihilated by the finger of God himself, most of the 05 research team, the senior leadership of the fledgling foundation, had either been killed in the ensuing chaos or defected along with Aaron Siegel and Vincent Arians. Many of the others had left their job posts to join them too, for any number of ideological reasons, making the chaos insurgency. So, what I had outlined when we talked about the chaos insurgency wasn't technically wrong, but it also was, as we see that 051 is the actual founder of the chaos insurgency.
Right.
Which that's going to be some shit to reckon with in the future if you can't tell, but that is what we are told for now. We come through, the two of them are talking. This is where they're simply talking about the goings on of the foundation, broken God fanatics. Like they are still holding true to their convictions in what they thought they were going to be, but their convictions have now shifted and they've become the chaos. They feel that the chaos insurgency is more accurate to what they want than what the Foundation was doing. Now, Arian says that they're planning a raid. At this point, we are now within the Church of the Broken God timeline for this. So they're saying that there's something happening down in Mexico, down in San Marco and La Paz, which is where the main site of the Children of the Broken God in Part 2 was taking place, in La Paz. And Aaron Siegel is talking, and Vincent Arian says, well, me and my team are going down. We are meeting with Sophia Light, who was one of the Foundation members that was part of the children, but did not defect with them. And they have some contact with her. They don't. They have been keeping tabs on her. Very specific difference. And Siegel tells Arians that he wants to go with them. That he wants to see the children one more time. He says, I want to see them. I just need to see them again. As they have been completely buried under mountains of concrete at this point. Once the schism happened, they broke off and like completely destroyed the weapon. The Foundation was able to recover some elements of it, but not in full. So Aaron Siegel is now saying, I need to go back and see them again, which obviously is fucking terrifying. Not good. You don't want to be going back to seeing the children that you made into a weapon. Bad idea.
Right.
But it cuts a little later. And a motif throughout all of Aaron Siegel's parts of this is that a phone is ringing. In this part, he says that he has been speaking with Sophia Light at this point, and they're going down, and the last paragraph before we break to now is he's bleeding. He staggers against the wall, his hand clutching his side. He looks behind him and sees a man lying dead on the ground, his hand clasped around a bloody, shattered golden sword. In the distance, a phone is ringing. He descends down an elevator, and it feels like it goes on forever. A phone is ringing.
So the person that he sees bleeding is Frederick Williams.
No, the person he sees bleeding is undefined currently. Frederick Williams at this point, already dead.
Well, in the previous paragraph it says 20 paces away he can see the stark, affixed face of Frederick Williams illuminated by a thin, glowing purple line in front of him. He is pulling on it with one finger. Oh, okay, so whoever he is, gotcha, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Undefined. Undefined.
It's a little tricky, but yes. So this one, I'm getting lost in my own sauce here.
Not your own sauce.
Yeah, very good point. That is very much not my own sauce. We come up to the 9th Overseer, the Outsider, who, as I defined before, was just kind of brought on. Her name was Donna Taylor. She was just a geologist like that. What was she? She was investigating something that was a little too close to home. And basically her whole life was destroyed because of it. And there's a bunch of thought of like, she was simply put onto the council to fucking piss everyone off, like piss off multiple members of the council. And Calvin and Anthony are going through, and she just kind of shows them a vision that is she's saying that a lot of this doesn't matter. She says, at one point I used to think that serving a higher cause would immortalize you. I thought that maybe a life given in service to something greater than yourself would make your death somehow more meaningful. It doesn't really matter where you end up, though. Any death can be meaningless. Any life can be wasted. She shows them both a vision of her family happy, joyous, and going through different parts of her life, and they see her older and things are harder and heavier, and eventually when they kind of are getting this idea of it, everything is absolutely in flames and everything is awful. And when they awake from this, they see that it seems she has slit her wrists. And she asks him, "Are you afraid of death?" He, of course, responds, "No." And as her dying breath, she simply responds with, "You're lying." And she dies. Now, this one I've been a little bit shorter with. This one is kind of just a bit of a setup. And again, kind of showing the morality or lack thereof of the overseers, of seeing, I didn't even want to be here. I was kind of brought on and to a degree forced to do this. And I know what I did was wrong. And there's no going back on this anymore. So if this is what's happening, this is what's happening. And I'm going to go out on my own. Bringing us now to the 8th Overseer, the Lesser. This one is actually somehow even shorter, but it's a lot funnier, weirdly. And again, we start then. And as you can see, assuming you're following along, every paragraph is intersponsed with a phone is ringing. We see Aaron Siegel throughout different places as he hears voices and visions calling to him as he's going through a church, saying the church will find truth in the... We're going to skip over a lot of this, but at one point it says, "The sun sinks below the mountains, and as it does, he sees a red right hand hanging in the heavens. The wind knocked the doors of the church wide, and from within its ruined hall he hears the sound of a man laughing. Inside the church, a phone is ringing." Going to now, the Lesser, 05-8, is said to be, I believe, just an old-timey tycoon, basically, that got a bunch of money and then did a big rail business, and then his brother wrote him out of everything. He was the original funder of the SCP Foundation, and he's said to be in this batshit crazy, hyper-fortified castle that no one's gonna be able to fucking break into. It's up in the mountains, and the 4 of them arrive, and it is on fire and fucking destroyed. It is completely destroyed, and they go through, and everyone is dead. Everyone is dead inside, and all the 4 of them are like, hey, what the fuck? What the fuck's going on? And they come up to his body, and it's like fucking exploded. They can identify that it would be 058 because he says, "Yep, definitely the Overseer." And Adam says, "What the fuck happened here then?" incredulously. Anthony says, "If I had to take a guess, I think that the Baron had enjoyed the benefits of some sort of augmentations or magic or something unnatural, which were kept in check because he couldn't die. Judging by how far down the fires have burned, I'd guess that a few weeks ago he suddenly found himself very mortal, and the augmentations didn't agree with each other." Pokes a little spinning mechanism and says, "Yeah, definitely didn't agree with each other." And that's the end of 058. There is no fight. They just come up to his crazy bunker, and he's fucking dead. He's already dead. And then I hate that I have to skip this. I don't have to, but we get a lot of just more general interaction between the 4 of them that, like, all of these are great characters. I really like them. We get that it's talking about their backstories a little bit. Olivia used to be not a musician, a magician, very different. The incredible Ivory, an artist of some renown. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but like I thought that to be kind of like actual like the sleight of hand type of magic. She does some crazy fucking magic later on that like isn't really talked about much, but she was like actual like practiced magic at that point. So that's something there. It's going through how Calvin met all of them a lot more because they've been working for ages together. And we get now that I believe I outlined when we talked about the Chaos Insurgency that the engineer is the equivalent to the administrator. That's kind of like the same level of guy. And Calvin says, as they're going through, and Anthony is, of course, the jaded old veteran of the group, Calvin says, listen, kid, don't let him get you down. We'll probably all be curmudgeons when we get to be as old as he is, but carrying on the engineer's legacy, standing in opposition to, and Anthony just cuts off the engineer, I'm sure. And there's clearly an issue that Anthony has with the engineer. And we're going through, and Anthony says there's a lot of things about, they'll tell you a lot of things about the engineer. Some of them true. He certainly did build the insurgency from almost nothing. He set forth many of its tenets. But he also turned traitor the moment he had the chance to grab power. To which Adam says, what are you even talking about? You act like you knew the man. To which Anthony responds, I did know him. I followed him during the defection. I carried the weight of our young insurgency right beside him, and I was left to pick up the pieces when he stabbed us in the back and bolted for the Foundation the moment he got a better deal, when they made him an overseer. And they go, that's impossible. If you knew him, you'd have to be, God, over 100 years old. And he says, yeah, even older than that. And it comes up that he was part of that and would drank from the fountain of life, as well as the rest of them. The rest of the initial Foundation and the what splintered into the Chaos Insurgency. I believe in here he does. They argue about this for a while of how the engineer is basically bullshit, but the Chaos Insurgency needs something. If it didn't have a driving tenant, then it would just nothing would happen. It would completely fall apart. It would be absolutely useless. Okay, he doesn't say it here, I don't believe. But he says that the summa modus operandi is the only goal. Everything else is just waiting for that, because they know that that's the only thing that really matters, but also it's impossible based on how strong the Foundation is, especially now. And the last thing they ask is, so why are you telling all of us this now? And he says, I'm telling you now because it matters to me that you know. It would be nothing short of a miracle for all of us to make it through this, and it doesn't seem right to let someone die without knowing the truth of what they're dying for. We do what we do for because of the natural order demands we correct our mistakes, not because of what some traitor said to do 70 years ago. Find whatever piece in that you can. Yes, and then we get a little interaction between both Calvin and Anthony, as we now get the revelation that he has drank from the fountain of youth, or fountain of life, because it's different, I guess. And he sees that Calvin has another vial of it, where only one. He had one. That's what he used to bring 0513 back from the edge of death. And Anthony is telling him, don't use this. You should destroy this. Don't. Basically, it takes away part of you. It doesn't. You won't be the same if you use it. And it's brought out that anytime people got kind of suspicious of him being like way too fucking old, he would just disappear for a while and come back. So if he was there when the engineer was there, who is he? And he says, for you right now, I'm Anthony Wright. I've been other people before, but if all of those people died when I passed it to the next name, the man I was when we defected hasn't been alive in decades. And with that, we're going to hop down to 057 Green.
All right. This is like kind of halfway. When we're halfway through this one, we're halfway.
Exactly.
In terms of dividing the number 13 in half, not word count.
I think it is pretty close, to be honest.
Okay.
Most of them seem to be about the same length-ish. I didn't check all of them.
So let me jump in here and recap.
Yeah,
so
please.
we've got 4 people that are going around and killing all of the overseers of the 05 Council.
Members of the Chaos Insurgency, correct.
Yes. And so we are getting, with each of these overseer profiles, as they get fucking gatted, either by a gun, a harpoon, or what have you, yeah. We get a then, which is the past, and that is the view of the founder of the Chaos Insurgency. And then we get a now, which is following Calvin, Olivia, Anthony. What's the last guy's name? Adam, thank you. Yes. So that's how the format is. And
yes.
Are they working in order, or is this all sort of?
No, they are notably they make other overseers will make mention to it going forward. They are specifically working down.
They're descending.
Overseers.
Okay.
Like they had to start with 13. That wasn't optional.
Right.
And then they kind of just went, well, we're already starting from the top. Might as well go down. There's no real specific reason other than it makes a better story.
Yeah, it's certainly easier for us, and then it's got some narrative weight to it too. So
coming back, recording another solo outro. I think back and I say, was a 5-hour recording session worth it? Yes, it certainly was. I absolutely love this story, and both Tyler and I very much hope that you will come back and very much enjoy part 3 of this story, and in that, the conclusion of the Ouroboros Cycle. We hope you have a great rest of your week, weekend, day, whenever you happen to be listening to this podcast, and we will finish this soon.